Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm Sam Thompson and I'm proud to be your 66th president. We are coming to you live from the Edina Country Club and also on Zoom. And today we have 41 registered live and 25 on Zoom. And I want to give a special welcome to our guests today. Very excited to have all of you join us. For those new to Rotary, we are a global network of 1.2 million leaders and problem solvers united to create a lasting change across the world. We are people of action. As people of action, we have 6 areas of focus. The first is peace and conflict prevention and resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. And to give you a better idea of what Rotary does, I'd like to show you a short video.
Our connections make powerful things happen, uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to come up with innovative ways to build sustainable housing and community centers, everyone learning from each other. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. In your backyard and around the world, there's power in our connections. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org.
Our club meets every Thursday right here at the Edina Country Club for lunch, and we are the largest club in our district at 170 members. We're very active both locally and internationally, and we volunteer within the 6 areas of focus. Last May, we traveled to Guatemala. We took 27 Rotarians and delivered life-saving purification units in remote mountainous villages. And we plan to return to Guatemala this next spring if COVID will allow us. And we will deliver 675 water purifiers next spring. Rotary's at the forefront of eradicating polio. In 1988, 350,000 known cases of polio were in the world. Today, there's only 174. And it was just announced this last week that polio is officially eradicated from Africa. Well, that's great news. Yeah, fantastic. Last year, we supported 13 local nonprofits with $38,000 in grants. And beyond our financial support, we have a very active community services committee, which organizes volunteers on site, such as Cornerstone, which is a women's shelter in the Twin Cities, Feed My Starving Children, Veep, which is one of the largest food pantries in the state, and we also provide every Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, baskets for those in need. And we actually assemble and then deliver the baskets. And last year we delivered 85 baskets. So we have an extremely active youth program also. Camp Enterprise is a business camp that we offer to high school students. We usually have about 120 high school students from throughout the Twin Cities area. We also are involved just recently with the Edina Rotary Scholars Program, and this is a 4-year commitment with our Edina High School. It combines academic study with Rotary service and leadership activities, and this is a specialized degree that will be elevating the Edina High School students. And we had hoped for this first year to have 20 students, and we have well over 30. So we're really excited about how that program is going. We have many programs and events that we're involved with, and it would take me actually an hour to go through everything. Our goal is to learn and to educate and to take action. And if this is your first Rotary meeting, we'd love to have you return and take action with us. Next, we'd like to do a member update, and it's with sadness that we pass on the news of Jackie Hagman, who is the wife of fellow Rotarian Mark Hagman. Jackie passed last Thursday after a brave battle with cancer. Our prayers are with Mark's family. Doug Johnson now has 12 grandkids. Is Doug in the room? Yes. All right, Doug. The baby in the front was born in May. This photo took, Doug said, 40 tries. The first photo of all the grandkids together, I guess some moved in, or some were coming from Missouri, and some were living in Grand Forks and now live in Edina. So good looking group, Doug. Congratulations. Scott McDonald, his son Sam just got married. And Scott's quote, hey Scott. Scott's quote is, Sam and Libby McDonald officially as of 5/20 last Saturday. And Mike Callis, I see Mike is here. Mike is actually famous now. He's been in a commercial, By the Yard commercial, and I want to show it to you.
You'll notice all of our smooth edges routed for safety and comfort.
Jake really loves this stuff.
It is non-porous. Won't ever rust, rot, and you guys chose with an umbrella hole, but you can also do it without an umbrella hole. You'll never stain. We hide every screw. The classic contoured seat design, that is a fantastic
Jake,
feature.
You gotta let these people go home. They bought this set 2 hours ago.
Sorry.
Maintenance free, American made and recycled. By the Yard Furniture. Life is better outdoors.
Good job, Mike. The business is test 1, 2. Okay, nice job, Mike. The business is actually owned by his sister and brother-in-law. And happy 70th anniversary to Dr. Arthur and Molly Rauner. Doctor's here. All right. Congratulations. And we have some birthdays that are listed there for birthdays. Happy birthday next week. And Rotary anniversaries. We've got a couple anniversaries. And Frank, 63 years it looks like. Congratulations. And assisting off podium, we have greeter Tim Murphy. On Zoom, Barbara Bourne. Front desk, Sutton McGraw. Photographer, Mark Jessen. And just a couple of other notes. We are now going to be having the minutes of our board meetings accessible to our members. So you'll be able to go to our website to access those. And our club yesterday shows 63 years of being chartered as of yesterday. So congratulations there. And final reminder, please keep your masks on after you're done eating for the safety of our fellow members. With that, I'd like to bring up Bridget for guest introductions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming as our guests. We welcome you to, as Sam said, come to another meeting as well. We may have some guests on Zoom, so welcome if you're on Zoom. We do have a few with us, and I'm going to just read off your names, and if you could just stand up with your guest, that would be great. And so first off, we've got Carlin Padacci? Padiacci, okay. Welcome. We've got Dimitri Anakin. Welcome, Dimitri. We've got Suzanne Reisman. Welcome. We've got Annika Sorderberg, who is also a Rotaract member. And then lastly, we have Alex Strohmeyer. Welcome, Alex. And Becky, do we have anyone on Zoom? No, we do not. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming.
I want to say hello to everyone. Good afternoon. Did you all hear me now? Yes. Okay, great. Tuesday this week, Women's Equality Day was celebrated with the unveiling of a statue in New York Central Park of 3 female heroes of the struggle to win the vote for women. They are Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Also, 100 years ago last week, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified by the last state, culminating in a decades-long struggle to get women the right to vote. In view of our Rotary Club's early acceptance of women into membership and into leadership roles, I thought it would be special if we just noted this historic event. Also, in that connection, my research indicates that the passage of the amendment still required further amendments, Supreme Court opinions, and a lot of time and effort after passage in the search to obtain the full benefits of the right for women to vote. A century later, we see the country still striving so that every eligible American, regardless of race, sex, age, or geography, can readily and safely cast their ballot and know their vote will be counted. Now I'd like to go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Finally, I would like us all to do Rotary's four-way test. Is it the truth?
The truth. Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks, everybody.
Okay, good job, Ken. And thanks, Jim Platt, for helping him.
Thank you, Sam. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Excited to announce another round of the Gala raffle this year. Our format is going to follow what hopefully everyone is familiar with. We're going to ask everyone to buy 10 raffle tickets or sell at $15 a ticket. So it's a total contribution of $150. Grand prize is $1,000 cash, and we have 5 second prizes at $100 cash each. I encourage you, I typically just write a check and hope that I win and never do. Certainly can buy them and give them to friends, family, or prospective members. You can resell them if you want to, but it's important to note that we need, under Minnesota state law, every ticket, whether you sell it or not, returned. So this year, the one big difference is going to be that we are not handing them out at a live meeting. All tickets will be mailed out this week, so please watch for them in the mail. We don't have extra raffle tickets this year, but if you're interested in selling or purchasing more than your 15 tickets, please let us know. But again, return all of the tickets, whether they're sold or unsold. And we really want to give a big thanks to this year's raffle sponsor, Murphy Automotive. They're offering a coupon on the raffle ticket that's either $20 off one of their oil changes, which I think John Barnett would tell you is normally $149, or $25 off a $149 repair. But it doesn't include tires, apparently. I got to read that fine print. But again, thank you to Murphy Automotive for generously sponsoring this year's raffle. Please watch the mail for your raffle tickets and contact myself, Tom Bach, or Marty Cooper with any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kip. We're going to get on to Zoom now. Last week he was a pig and today a penguin. So very creative guy. Okay, and the raffle ticket committee wanted me to share with you last year's winner. It looks like it was Mike and Beth Opitz with Mick Jagger, which I didn't know he was there. Okay, now I'd like to have Jean Morrison come up.
Good afternoon. Nice to see all of you. This is my first live meeting. Fred Rogers said it best. In times of stress, the best thing we can do for each other is to listen with our ears and our hearts and be assured that our questions are just as important as the answers. I'm really happy to tell you that our Helping Hands program that we initiated to help people during these challenging times has been rolled in permanently to the membership program. And so what I'm looking for are 20 of you who have about 6 to 8 hours a year to connect and check in and care about your fellow members. I think it's important as an Edina Rotary member to know that your club cares. So what you're going to do is receive a call once a year from a fellow member to check in with you, to connect with you, and to see how you're doing and to see if there's any way we can help. And so if it speaks to your heart to check in and connect with your fellow members, again, it's not an onerous obligation, 6 to 8 hours in a year. So about a 45-minute call to 8 to 10 of your fellow members. You may get to know someone better. You may get to find out something about someone that you didn't know. So please let me know. Email me or call my mobile. And again, we're going to start our army of caring people in the club to contact our members. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Annika Soderberg, and I'm with the Rotary Club of Edina. So to give you guys some updates, recently we did a volunteer event at the Sheridan Story. We had a social at a picnic. And then in the next 2 months, we have a few priorities that we're going and main focuses that we're really going to focus on. So service events, we're looking to the Alzheimer's Walk. And then again, we're thinking of the Sheridan Story. We are also really going to focus on promoting the Leadership Development Speakers series that you guys have already started. And then we are also going to be volunteering at the Edina Rotary Gallery. Thanks.
Thank you. As many of you know, Rotary International has a human trafficking initiative. And so our club has been involved with this. Last year we did a workshop on human trafficking. And we're going to do it again this year. It's going to be September 17th. We're doing in-person, maximum of 96 people, as well as Zoom. And this is a joint meeting with the morning club. So I strongly encourage all of you that when the invites go out, either today or tomorrow, that you register soon. People go, why are you doing human trafficking? We did it last year. Why are we doing it again? This is really a pervasive, not really a disease, but problem that we have in our society. How many of you know that recently an individual from Eden Prairie was sentenced to 24 years for sexual assault of one of his student figure skaters? And what was sad about the whole situation was he started grooming this young girl at age 9 along with her parents and built trust. And over time, then he started sexually abusing her. And she didn't tell anybody. She didn't tell her parents, she didn't tell her friends until a year ago Christmas, she told her best friend that she was being sexually assaulted by her figure skating coach. This is why Rotary is involved with human trafficking. So hopefully all of you will sign up to learn more and how we can stop this issue that we have in our society. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ann. A couple more announcements before we bring up our speaker. Our gala invites are going to be going out very soon, within the next few days. And when you receive those, you can either send in with a check or you can pay by credit card on the website. So I just want to make sure you know that. Want to thank Dr. Dash as our presenting sponsor. Not sure if he's in the room today. Oh yes, he's in the back, so thank you so much. And we've been introducing our hosts who are hosting these parties, the different countries. And we've had 2 videos. We're going to show the 3rd of our 4 videos right now. And it's brought to you by the B-52s. yes, that is Mayor Hovland with his wife, Lorraine. They're going to be hosting France. So it should be a fun, fun gala. And my last announcement is our car show, September 12th. It's our second annual. It's at Southdale. You can register your car if you'd like, or if you want to attend as an individual, you can do that. There's no charge. It's free. And I want to thank Key Cadillac, Grandview Tire and Auto, and Sotheby's for sponsoring this event. Now I'd like to bring up Michael Stanzik to introduce our speaker. Michael moved to the Twin Cities with his family from New Orleans in 1973 when his father Adam became the dealer at Key Cadillac. Michael graduated from Edina West in 1976, then graduated in accounting from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire in 1981. There he met his wife Janet and got married in 1983. In their early years, they lived in Orlando, Florida, where he worked at Royal Oldsmobile. He returned to his family business in 1990 and became the dealer operator at Key Cadillac in 2011. Michael and Janet have been married for 36 years, live in Chanhassen with their English Springer Spaniel Marley, and have 2 grown children, Adam and Natalie. He has been on the board of both the Minnesota Automobile Dealers Association and the Greater Metropolitan Auto Dealer Association. He has been involved with the Thanksgiving basket program at our club since 2002 when Dick Teagan encouraged him to participate. He is currently our president-elect and is looking forward to becoming president in 2021. Let's welcome up Michael Stanzik. Hey.
You make me blush. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. I've had the good fortune of knowing our speaker for 10 years, and she and I have spent many times together in lots of meetings. Amber Backhaus is Vice President of Public Affairs for the Minnesota Auto Dealer Association. Amber has over 20 years working as a government relations professional representing clients before the Minnesota legislature and state agencies. Currently, she leads the advocacy efforts for the Minnesota Auto Dealer Association, MADA, a trade group representing Minnesota's 370 franchise car, new car, and truck dealers. Prior to joining MADA, Amber worked in the government relations practice of Leonard Street and Denhart, acting on behalf of high-profile clients such as the Minnesota Timberwolves, State Farm Insurance, Jim, you might have an interest in that, Express Scripts, and SuperValue. She also served as the Director of Public Affairs for the Minnesota Trucking Association. In 2012-2013, Amber was honored to be elected by her peers to serve 2 years as President of the Minnesota Government Relations Council and its 500 members. Amber lives in Minneapolis with her husband and son and volunteers with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, where she serves as National Trustee. This is a woman that truly knows the Minnesota legislature and, more importantly, Josh, how to get things done. Please, let's give Amber a warm Rotary Club of Edina welcome.
Well, thank you very much for that, Michael, and I hope my presentation lives up to the expectations that were set there. It's truly, oops, I'm sorry, a little closer, there we go, a little higher. It's truly an honor to be here today. I appreciate the invitation, and I hope my presentation doesn't turn off any of your prospective members and you'll come back after what I say. But you know, 2020 has been a year filled with lots of news, lots going on. It's hard to keep up with this news cycle. And there's a major policy in consideration at the state level that's going to be coming forward that I don't think too many people know about, and I wanted to spend some time sharing some information with you about it. It would have a big impact on our industry and our important members like Michael Stanzik and Key Cadillac, as well as consumers who are having a tough time right now with the recession that's underway due to the COVID pandemic. What my presentation is called is California Dreaming and Why California Emission Standards Are Wrong for the State of Minnesota. A little more background about our industry. As you can see from my presentation, and as was said in the introduction, we have over 350 franchise new car and truck dealers we represent, many of them locally owned, family-owned businesses, multiple generations like Key Cadillac. We employ upwards of 21,000 Minnesotans with great paying jobs and provide a lot of opportunities for advancement within the industry. And our sales last year were great, 235,000. They've been going up after the recession of the 2009-2010 years. This year we're seeing things a little different though with COVID-19. Obviously, people have been staying home, not driving as much, but also they are concerned about their incomes. Sales slumped considerably in March. We're down 40%, and they're expected to be off 20% at year's end at about 184,000 vehicles sold in the state of Minnesota. So that's a little bit of background about us and why we care about this issue. Because what happened was last fall, in September of 2019, Governor Walz announced that he would be proposing the Clean Cars Minnesota initiative, which sounds great. I think all of us care about our environment and trying to improve that and reverse what is happening with climate. And as part of this initiative, he announced that the state would be trying to provide more choice of vehicles for Minnesotans, as well as keep costs down, and there'd be savings while cleaning up the environment. And that's all fine and good, and we would applaud that. But unfortunately, when you look in the details of this proposal, we don't think that's what's going to happen. And we especially have some concerns about the process and the precedent that is being set. First of all, with regard to process, typically a big initiative like this would go through the legislature, or the legislature would decide to do this, and then the agency would implement rulemaking to make it happen if there's some details that need to be worked out. This isn't the case with this proposal. As I said, Governor Walz proposed it. He put forward an executive order stating the rulemaking process would begin, in essence, bypassing the legislature and the votes of our representatives and senators who act on behalf of Minnesotans, and are going straight to an agency that's going to be proposing the rules, writing the rules. Now, while there will be opportunity for public comment, it's harder for people to engage, and again, you don't have a representative voting on your behalf about whether this should happen. There's also some oversight from the judicial branch. Administrative law judge will oversee the process, but he's really concerned more about the process and making sure that the agency follows the procedures of a rulemaking versus the merits and the content of that rulemaking. And that would happen in about 2 years, and that process started, as I said, last fall. What's also concerning about this initiative to us is that it's not really coming up with a regulatory scheme that's homegrown in Minnesota. While it's called Clean Cars Minnesota, what is essentially happening is that the state would be adopting rules set by the California Air Resources Board, which is an unelected bureaucracy in the state of California that oversees California's very unique and very severe air quality issues. As folks are aware, California has some of the worst air in the nation thanks to its topography and having a major metropolitan area like Los Angeles in a basin where the bad air doesn't move out, and then you have a lot of people driving around there, 24 million vehicles on the road in that state. So we would be deferring this process to California and would have no opportunity to amend it or change it or make it work for Minnesotans. The reason that this is in place is when the Clean Air Act was adopted in 1970, to have a federal uniform standard, a carve-out was made for California because they'd already been dealing with their bad air for a couple of decades and had a regulatory infrastructure. And so for the bill to pass, they needed to keep that exemption for California. California has a waiver to propose its own standards about the air quality that are different than what the federal government proposes. And other states do have the opportunity to follow California's lead if they also suffer from bad air and can't meet the federal standards. And to date, there are 13 other states besides California that have adopted California's regulations on air quality and emissions. By and large, it's the East and West Coast that just have bigger populations and more severe air quality issues. And speaking of California's air quality, as I said, it's pretty rough for that state. There are smog areas and ozone areas and particulate matter that exceed the federal standards. They have 148 areas of the state that don't meet those standards for federal air quality. And as I said, they're writing these rules to address that and get that into alignment with the federal standards. So they're dealing with a big problem here. And so that's what they're regulating and writing their rules for. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, this is our map of areas that don't meet federal emission standards. We are very fortunate to be in a state where we respect the environment. We do have good regulations in place, and we have very clean air, and no areas of the state that don't meet ozone or particulate matter standards. which is wonderful, and we're very fortunate for that. But it does highlight the problem here with having Minnesota defer to California, because again, they've got an issue that we don't have at all. So on top of that, these California rules, which determine emissions from vehicles and fuel mileage, are only written through the year 2025. California hasn't written them for the years beyond that, but again, because of the air quality issues they're facing, they're continually updating their regulations and getting them more severe and more stringent to address their issues. So if we're adopting California standards in the coming years, in a few years, we don't know what that regulatory scheme will look like, which is a concern to us. There could be additional changes that don't make sense for Minnesota with regard to both emissions and fuel economy standards. So we're really tethering our regulatory scheme to something that we have no idea what it looks like. Essentially a mystery that, again, we won't have the opportunity to amend because states either follow California or the federal regulations. There's no hybrid model that can be written to address your own unique situations. On top of that, to really get the savings and fuel economy that you need, you're going to see fleets go from bigger vehicles to smaller vehicles, and I chose these two vehicles on purpose in my presentation. Minnesota is a state that loves their trucks. The vehicle there is the Chevy Silverado, the top selling vehicle for the state of Minnesota. It dukes it out with the F-150 year after year as to which sells the most vehicles. But annually, over 80% of the vehicles sold in Minnesota are pickup trucks, SUVs, crossovers, whereas in California, about 54% of their vehicles are those larger passenger vehicles, and their top selling vehicle is the Honda Civic. And that's largely because to recognize that fuel economy savings that the regulations require, you need the smaller vehicles to be in compliance, which would be a detriment to Minnesotans that love having the bigger vehicle to haul kids around to practice, or boats to the cabin, or whatever activity you need for that larger vehicle. We also are concerned that this proposed regulation will have impacts on what is available in the state of Minnesota. As I said, California is going to determine what can be sold here. Vehicles would have to comply and be certified by the state of California to be made available in Minnesota. This would impact what would be available for you as a customer. I know Michael has a great offering on his lot, but he can't carry every trim package and color for his customers that come in. So oftentimes he'll look for a vehicle somewhere else for his customer if he doesn't have the exact precise color scheme that they want. So he might reach out to a Cadillac dealer in Wisconsin or Iowa or the Dakotas to find those vehicles. Under this regulatory scheme, he would no longer be able to do that because he would only be able to bring in California certified cars, and none of the surrounding states would fall under California regulations. So that wouldn't be available to customers, which would hinder his ability to get people what they want. It would also potentially, as I said, have the impact of having less of the pickup trucks and SUVs delivered to the state of Minnesota, either because, one, they don't meet California certifications, but as part of this also, there's going to be an increase in the number of electric vehicles offered in the state. And we have no problem with electric vehicles, but a lot of times, or I should say a lot of the models available right now are smaller vehicles that don't have the towing capacity or are the size that Minnesotans prefer to drive. So that could leave dealers with inventory that they necessarily wouldn't be able to move as quickly. I know we have some members in the southern part of Minnesota that haven't sold a sedan in several months, even with their used inventory. There's such a preference for pickups and SUVs and crossovers. As I said, part of this that California has is an electric vehicle mandate, where there would have to be so many electric vehicles offered for sale in the state. And again, we don't have a problem with electric vehicles. Our members, some of them are certified to sell them. We've been involved in Drive Electric Minnesota to promote and educate the public about EVs because we know that's the wave of the future and people had a lot of questions. But right now, consumers still aren't very comfortable. There's early adopters who are very passionate about their electric vehicles, and they're fun to talk to about their cars because they get so into it. But we're only selling about 1.5% electric vehicles, hybrid and pure electric, in Minnesota a year. Barriers to getting consumer adoption is not a very robust charging infrastructure at this point. So a lot of folks in the metro area who have very predictable, regular commutes that can just charge at home or their workplace, but we don't have sufficient infrastructure throughout the state, especially in parts of greater Minnesota where people have to drive farther. There is a cost issue right now. On average, an electric vehicle costs about $12,000 more than the comparable combustion engine vehicle, which makes it a deterrent for folks who might be interested. People are very price sensitive with the cars they buy. As I said also, there are not a lot of models. There are no pickup truck models yet in the EV sector. The F-150 is going to be having a hybrid come in a few years, but it's not here yet, so we don't see the models that Minnesotans gravitate toward. And then lastly, we're not California in terms of the weather. We have many more days below freezing, and unfortunately, electric vehicles lose some of their capacity if you're heating the vehicle while driving, and there's estimates of a 20 to 40% reduction in mileage during those colder months, which can be a challenge in a state like Minnesota. So we're concerned that having a mandate of how much supply out there isn't really going to get the vehicles on the road because we don't see the demand yet. And we think that this is premature for the state to move forward and adopt what California is doing, just because we don't think at 1.5% we're going to be able to sell 8 to 12% electric vehicles in a couple of years as what will be required under this mandate. There are also some cost issues associated with this proposal. The state of Minnesota does agree that all vehicles sold are going to be higher due to compliance and certification of being California car. And the estimates vary. The state's saying it's going to be at least an $800 per new vehicle price increase. Our friends in Colorado, which recently adopted this, are estimating it's $2,500. I've seen some information from the state that they're thinking it could be at least over $1,000. But again, people are very price sensitive. They'll drive far away to get a good deal and save $500. So an increase of $800 or more is going to be a deterrent to the new vehicle car market. That also is going to have economic impacts on our border dealers. Minnesota exports a lot of vehicles to our surrounding states. Our Fergus Falls dealers sell about 40% of their cars to North and South Dakotans. I have a little dealer in California, 50% of their inventory goes to Wisconsin. Those customers are not going to come to Minnesota if they're going to get essentially the same vehicle for that kind of price differential. It's going to be a real deterrent to those economies and those local communities on the border. And on top of that, we just think that'll force people into a late model used car. Why would you pay that extra? This mandate or these regulations only apply to new vehicles sold. So somebody would probably decide to buy, a low mileage late model vehicle. And that really goes against the idea of trying to improve regulations because you're not buying the latest and greatest and cleanest technology in that instance. There's also some concern because about 12 years ago, the state legislature thought about moving forward with California regulations then. But it wasn't just with regard to new motor vehicles and their emissions. They were looking at adopting all of the California Air Resources Board regulations, and they run the gamut. They regulate heavy-duty trucks. They just put forward a new mandate there to have 40% of the fleets be electric vehicle. I think it's by 2025 or 2030 in that state for heavy-duty trucks. They have different standards for fuel. There's a low carbon fuel standard, and it doesn't favor corn ethanol. Minnesota is a big ethanol state, corn ethanol state, so we'd be disadvantaged there if we were to go this route. And then any off-road engine, anything with a cylinder, essentially California regulates. So there is a bit of concern in the proverbial camel's nose under the tent if the state were to do this regulation on new motor vehicles, what is going to come after that? It would be pretty easy then for the state just to, by rulemaking, without legislative input, continue to adopt California's regulations and put those in place here. So I just threw a lot of information at you very quickly, but as I said, our concern about this is that it's a process question, it's the precedent of doing what another state is deciding for their air quality issues and not having the ability to control it ourselves, as well as having impacts on consumers in terms of cost and choice, and especially right now when we're dealing with a recession and a down economy. It seems just like piling on a little bit for our members. So we would love to continue this discussion with folks. I'm happy to answer some questions about what is being proposed. We do have a website, drivewaycacars.org, if you're interested in learning more, where you can get updates as this rulemaking progresses. And I already see some hands.
How is this program going to be monitored?
The question for those on Zoom was, how is the program going to be monitored? Some of that hasn't been determined. A lot of it will fall on the automobile manufacturers. They will have to file reports that show that what they're selling and what they've delivered for sale in the state of Minnesota, that our dealers are buying from them, meets those certification standards. I think there could also be some requirements on the deputy registrars who register and title vehicles in the state to make sure they meet the certifications. That has not been worked out yet. And we haven't seen that detail, but those are the primary ways. Sorry.
Any chance for legal action from some organization against the governor?
Any chance for legal action against this initiative? That is being considered. We are looking at those options. I think the manufacturers are as well. Just because, as I said, this is pretty unprecedented for Minnesota to become a California car state, just because we don't have areas of non-attainment. And there, I think, are some questions as well about, I didn't get into all the details, but right now California's waiver isn't even valid. So it's interesting that we would be potentially adopting this rule when California doesn't have the authority right now to promulgate their different standards. So it is something being looked at. Sir.
Some of us are old enough to remember when we used to take our cars in, have them checked for emissions. Is that part of the package too, or you have to go in, because otherwise, how do you regulate it?
Sure. The question was about whether the emission testing stations that used to be around in Minnesota in the 90s would be part of this program. That portion of the California regulations isn't part of what's being proposed to be adopted right now, since it's focusing only on the new car market and not the used car. But that being said, if we wanted to go beyond this, that there's the potential for that. Work my way around. I'm just going to start in the back there.
So has Governor Walz given any explanation to why he is so motivated to adopt these regulations from California?
The question was about, what has Governor Walz stated why he's so passionate about adopting these California standards? I think he wants to do something for the environment, and we don't begrudge him that. He should do something for the environment. I do think he's deferred a lot to his agency, who has said, well, this shouldn't be a big deal. Other states are doing this, so it should be a pretty easy sell in Minnesota. But again, and even the agency is only referring to it as Clean Cars Minnesota in their presentations to the public. They never say we're adopting California regulations that can't be changed. So I don't think he necessarily has all the details about what's being proposed. And honestly, there's been a few other distractions going on right now between the pandemic and civil unrest, which has made it hard for him to focus. So I think there's been a lot of deference to the agency. Sir, here.
Couple of questions. One, I think I understood one of those slides to indicate that the inventory of cars is low, and I'm curious why that would be, given the fact that sales are so low. And the second question, you said that electric vehicles are the wave of the future, and I'm wondering if you could look into your crystal ball and tell us when you think electric car demand will be at a point where it will be significant.
A couple questions there. One about the state of the industry right now and why inventory is low when sales are down. If you recall, before even the pandemic hit, GM had a strike. And so they were not manufacturing cars for several months. They then got back online to only have their factory shut down. And all the manufacturers shut down their major facilities at the start of the COVID pandemic. When they reopened, they didn't catch back up. And so while sales are down, there are some vehicles that are in demand, especially those trucks. Actually, truck sales have increased 3%, I think, during COVID, while sedans, overall, the amount of vehicles is down. So there's imbalance there in terms of what's available and for those folks that are buying, what's on the lots. So that's the first part. The second question is about when electric vehicles will be more broadly accepted and when that demand will increase. I have to say, I think it's going to be a while in Minnesota. California has also been successful in getting consumers to buy because they've spent $700 million on consumer rebates over the last 6 years. They offer a $5,000 consumer rebate when you purchase an electric vehicle. Other states that sell more have that. That's true in Europe. I know Norway has a very generous program where you don't pay any of the transportation taxes and there are other subsidies. From a policy perspective, states that have succeeded getting people into those vehicles have provided some sort of incentive, consumer incentive subsidy that has helped spur the market on and gotten more of them out there, and people have been more receptive to take that on. We don't have that in Minnesota. We've tried to propose that in the past with the legislature. It hasn't gotten any legs. Probably not likely to, with the state budget expected to be in the red significantly. And until there is price parity, and then the charging infrastructure and all those kind of truck models we like, I think we're probably 10 years away. That's me speaking just from what I read, and so that's much farther out than this increase that we'd have to see in the next couple of years. I don't know where to go next. I was going to work around over here and then come back if there's time.
First, I want to thank you for using Tim Murphy's private garage for the picture of the truck and the small car. Why is, when you talk about this, why is this thing, I can't think of the word that you used, but Walz can propose it and it can't be challenged. Why is that?
So the question was about how Walz can propose this and it can't be changed or amended. That is a function of the Federal Clean Air Act. It stipulates that there can be two standards. There's the federal standard and then there's the California standard. And other states that adopt the California standard must follow it. They cannot deviate from it whatsoever. So if we were to go that route, as I said, we would be beholden to what California decides. Whatever they come up with the next iteration of rules after 2025, we would have to stick with. There can't be a scale of acceptance of California. It's either feds or California.
Can you help us understand how it disadvantages corn ethanol?
The question was about how California's low carbon fuel standard disadvantages corn ethanol. And I am not an expert in this area, but I did reach out to my friend at the Minnesota Corn Growers Association, and they sort of have a life cycle analysis and calculation about the process of growing corn ethanol, and especially Minnesota corn ethanol. A lot of it is shipped on truck and has to do a lot of truck miles versus railroad miles, and again, that's more emissions from the trucks than the railroads. So there's a sort of land use life cycle calculation that makes it less favorable. They're not totally against it. They have embraced it more than when the rules first came out. So it's been evolving, but there still is a bias against it.
Electric cars do very little emission, but when we produce electricity, we burn coal usually in this state anyway. So have any calculations been done on how much emissions are coming from the coal to get the equivalence of gas mileage?
The question was about the source of electricity generation, since there is quite a bit of coal-burning electricity generated that these cars would be consuming. I think because Minnesota has a very aggressive renewable energy standard that's ahead of other states, it would not be as severe. There'd be more cars here powered by wind and solar, and I apologize, I can't remember what the numbers are, but it is significantly less than other states. So even though there would still be some coal, I think our renewable portfolio sort of gives the advantage to electricity. I'd have to follow up with you on that. I apologize. I see Tim's giving me
Amber, evidenced by the questions, your topic has a lot of interest to this group. And just for your knowledge, Rotary too cares considerably about the environment. In fact, we had 6 areas of focus until just recently, and now we just added a 7th, which is the environment. But, obviously this is going to be controversial, and we thank you for being here. And President Sam pointed out earlier, from literacy and peace to water and health, Rotary is an organization and a global network of over 1 million people, 1 million problem solvers who unite to take action and create lasting change to better our world. In honor of your presentation today, we're going to make a contribution in your honor to the Sheridan Story, which is an organization that provides weekend and other food gap programs to over 10,000 people in the Twin Cities. So
Wow,
thank you very much.
Okay, looking ahead, September 2nd, we have a vocational happy hour. John Soderberg will be speaking, and that's Annika's uncle, correct? All right. September 9th is our chamber mixer, Rotary chamber mixer. As mentioned on the 12th, September 12th is our car show. And then on the 15th, Leadership Development Series, Mary Youngren will be speaking on resiliency. And next week, our speaker will be Michael Wright, talking about staying ahead of the curve in the exponential era. I want to thank everybody for attending, especially our guests. Thank you, Amber. That was a great talk. I'd like to leave you with a quote. Ambition is the key to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. William Early IV. With that, meeting adjourned.